Different shows, different shows, different shows. Game in the real, those start to be. Game in the real, game that is real. Don't question me. Game is about, game is out. Game is about those that are real. I'm on TV. Different shows, different shows, different shows, different shows. Careful what you say or you'll get him bigger.
Righty then, we are live. We actually have people watching so already, which is good. So I'm in charge today. It fell on to me. Damn it! 2 nights in a row.
Lucky man, lucky man.
I know. Oh my goodness. So tonight we are talking about mechanisms. Hey Bob. Mechanisms, and I'll give a definition that I'm kind of going with. So the definition I have is a natural or established process by which something takes place or is brought about. Similar terms are procedure, process, system, operation, method, and technique. So that's what I'm going with. And we're going to be applying that to paranormal claims, such as like equipment, how equipment is supposed to work, how it's supposed to detect ghosts. We're going to talk about it, criticize it, maybe offer some insight. Also, like haunted or cursed objects, and the mechanism by which they are supposed to work. And we can even get in, because as I was writing up some of my notes, I kept thinking, like, wait, there's a story. One of us has a story. And I kept thinking, Tim, you have a story.
Which story?
The one where you came up here and we went to Para-Unity, that conference, and you had a little conversation with somebody. So yeah. I'll let you tell that later.
Another para-celebrity, perhaps?
Oh, yes.
I remember that story. That's a good one.
So let's see. Bob says, wait, we get 2 nights of what? DKT.
Dave,
what?
Kenny, and Tim.
Dave. Oh, wow. Damn. Okay. And his question, will we ever find out what the words to the previous intro were? Oh, I guess we can give that out.
Yeah, actually.
Yes, we probably could give that out because Kat Ward actually got them all. So maybe at the end of the show tonight, we'll reveal all the lyrics from the last opening.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So opening statements, I guess this is always something that comes up. So asking about the mechanism of something, how it works. I mean, that's one of our first questions. Whenever I see a piece of equipment, especially when I'm roaming around the aisles of a paranormal conference. I mean, this is like, I should just have it on repeat, like on a recorder. How does that work? How does that work? That's all I keep doing. And what's funny is that for the majority of responses, most people don't know how their gadgets work or how these objects work. They have no idea, yet they claim confidently that they do work. Which is always something that surprises me and intrigues me, and I want to get into it more. And it's funny when you get into, especially like I don't want to get into Tim's story because it's so cool. But getting into maybe like psychics, which is something that I get into quite often, and asking how they go about getting the information. Usually you get that first initial like, oh, you know what? I get bits and pieces, and I get names, and I get dates, and I can tell you the future, and I can tell your past, and you get a very broad and general sense of what their powers are, for lack of a better word.
Right.
But then when you start asking, well, how does that work? Like, are you actually getting names, like full names? Why don't you get last names? Like, you only get first letters and stuff. When you start getting into the details about the mechanism by which this is taking place, it falls apart. And that's my biggest gripe. That people are selling gadgets, that they are promoting rituals, they are promoting services, but they have no fucking clue how they're doing it.
Mhm.
So that's my big problem, my opening statements. So I will pass it on. Let's see. I'm gonna flip a coin. I'm gonna flip my asshole patch, my merit badge, asshole merit badge. Tim, you're on top. Let's see. Dave, you win. So
All
you
right.
go next.
Winning. So I agree with what Kenny said. I think we see and hear a lot of people present like equipment that can detect things as fact. An EMF meter, which I'm going to talk about tonight, that's a fact. It detects ghosts. And you hear that a lot. And spirits are made up of electromagnetic fields or magnetic fields. Okay. Well, that's a bunch of rubbish if you really get into it and think about it. And I'll go through some of the reasons and the possible mechanisms. If that actually happens, what would be the mechanism? How does that happen? Understanding what happens with the human body and how we produce electromagnetic fields and what happens if you die and kind of the conditions that would have to surround maintaining that electromagnetic field and how it would have to be at the right frequency to be picked up by the meters and the right amplitude. So I'll go through those examples, but yeah, I mean, it spans everything from how the equipment works to the Estes method, to ghosts moving things, to bleeding or weeping statues. Because that, to me, we have a little fun project we're working on, and you look at it and it's like, if these things really did that supernaturally or paranormally, how are they doing that? How are you getting That's
Oh my god, that's tiny.
That is creepy.
I hear that a lot.
And you start thinking about it, it's like, okay, so what's the mechanism? How is it actually transferring a physical substance to that statue to something that can be physically detected and tested and touched and felt and smelled? How does that happen?
Right.
Because you go back to the old days of psychics, mediums, physical mediums, producing ectoplasm. All that was fake. All of it was false. They couldn't prove any of it. It was all cloth or cheesecloth or other substances that they did. So you start thinking about that. It's like, okay, if we really think through this and step through what could happen in the mechanisms, it's really hard to explain a lot of this stuff. And even within the whole field of parapsychology, they'll admit they don't know. If they see data, they say that's the data shows there's something going on, but we don't know how yet. We really don't. We have a couple of hypotheses, but we don't know. So for people who are doing this kind of as a hobby and they're out lecturing as experts and they're giving classes,
right.
When the people who do this for a living who are actually affiliated with a university say, we don't know, but you're damn sure that you know that this thing affects this piece of equipment or this, the Connect system. How does it happen? And one of the things I'm going to point out in mine is the first thing you always have to rule out is there really even a correlation? Is there between anomalous activity and how do you rule out natural stuff? Mm-hmm. And then you can start trying to figure out if there's a mechanism, what the hell is that? And then if there is a mechanism, you should be able to test it.
Right.
So that's my opening comment.
Awesome.
I wish I would have gone first.
Just say rubbish, Tim. It's fine.
Rubbish.
Rubbish.
Rubbish. Is that the word you drink to tonight, or are we sticking with energy?
Oh, energy is always the drink word.
Okay.
Especially when someone sends quotes to us through Messenger that has 5 fucking mentions of the word. We get buzzed before the show.
A great quote of how ghosts move shit. Like when you have to say, well, this is how they move it. Think about the movie Ghost. Did you see how they concentrated real hard? Mm-hmm. That's how they move shit. I'm like, oh, well, it's absolutely clear now. Thank you so much for that. When I started asking questions and thinking about ghosts and paranormal, and I never thought about it being an invasive type of question or an attack type of question. But at some point, it did cross my mind several times, and it's a sticking point for me. when people say ghosts moves things, or ghosts close the doors, or ghosts go through walls, like, what is it? Like, isn't that just? I mean, it's fascinating to me to wonder what that is. So when I ask people, like, what is it? Like, do you ever wonder what it is? And you get the E word. It's energy. I'm like, you know what? I mean, no, that's not good enough. Like, there has to be something. There has to be. If it is happening, then it has to be something. And if it's something, then we can find it and measure it.
Right.
But what is it? And I quickly found out that was a not a very good thing to ask, and would get banned at several places for asking that. So
you and your fucking questions.
I didn't mean it for it to be like a hey, asshole.
And you're nice about it usually.
I am very nice about it, I think, anyway. But apparently it wasn't taken in a nice way. So yeah, even I brought my book. It's a book that it's my first haunted object that I get to keep. So that just comes to my mind is like hearing people say that ghosts are attached, or spirits are attached to an item, which I guess I could talk about The Godfather at this point in my opening.
Yeah, I mean, you can just we'll just segue into talking about different
Start strong.
topics. So
Let's do
go
it.
ahead.
Yeah, I don't even know. I can't remember what his name was. Just that they call him the Godfather of the Paranormal. Do you remember?
I have a brain fart. Holy shit!
John Zaffis?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
the fact I knew that worries me. I better drink more.
yes. In all earnest, we were at this conference. I was kind of shocked that, like, I didn't know that there were going to be like these named people there. So I was really kind of excited to like drop some good questions on him. And John Zaffis was one. And so he had some people waiting in line, and I kind of hung out around his booth until it was clear. It was just me and him. So I thought, well, we're going to have some good time. We'll have time to talk about it. Like, I'll get to pick his brain. And so he's sitting on one side, or he's standing on one side of the bench, and I'm standing on the other. And I was like, I have a question. And he's like, yeah, what's your question? And I was like, what is the mechanism that attaches a spirit or a demon or a ghost to an object? And he like looks at me, puts his hands in his pockets, turns around, and just walks away. Was that so hard? Like, I mean, couldn't we like even discuss ideas? But no. No. I got vickered.
You got vickered like
You
right.
immediately got
By a
vickered.
celebrity.
Celebrity vickering.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fascinating because you were really bothered. I mean, when we got back together, you were like, "The fuck, man!"
Yeah,
He
it did.
walked away
It's,
from me.
I was not expecting a walk away. Like I was expecting at least an attempt at a discussion, which I would have been happy to hear.
Mhm.
But he just like looked at me, put his hands in his pocket, and turned around and walked away. Didn't even say goodbye. Didn't even say thanks for the conversation.
Right.
Just a goodbye.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, going with that, I mean, we do have some examples. I think before we get into our examples that we all have, why is it important? Why is it important to know the mechanism? And I have some quick notes here that for me, it's important to know the mechanism, because then it's more likely that it's not what you believe it is, i.e. like paranormal. If you know the mechanism, if you actually know how something works, then you have a much better understanding of what's going on.
Yep.
Which is so important. I think that's the most important thing for everything that we do. I mean, that's the basis. You have to understand what the fuck is going on.
I'm putting that in my notes. What?
Seriously, there you go. I mean, when you understand, you essentially remove the supernatural / metaphysical part of it, because now you understand exactly. And it's not just thinking you understand, like, oh, well, a ghost can, possess a doll because it gets inside of it and it can move around. That's not knowing the mechanism. That's speculating. That's making shit up, to be honest. And when you question the mechanism, you can also expose a potential hoax. When you start questioning people and saying, well, how does this work? Let's clarify that detail. Can we look at it? Can we touch? Can we take it apart? Can we push this button? When you start questioning the mechanism by which something happens, especially haunted dolls and stuff. I see so many videos of them, and I replicated them. I made a video about how to make dolls move, how to make a video like that. And I showed 3 different ways you could do it. And it's just, once you understand the mechanism behind that, the mystery is gone and you understand it better and you can move on to other things. So, for me, I think that's important, knowing the mechanism. That's why we're doing this, not just, to rip apart some people and ghost hunting gadgets and stuff. It's an important part of the investigation process. Agree?
Absolutely.
100% agree. And it's the way science happens. And I've talked about this before, even within parapsychology. There's 2 types of research. There's proof-oriented. Is there really a phenomena that's legitimate, that the data is showing that there's something to it?
Right.
And then there's process-oriented. Once you have proof and once you've made correlations and you prove that there's something interesting to look at, then you can start thinking about the process, which actually you can do both at the same time. You can look for proof and process at the same time. But nobody in mainstream science is going to take it seriously unless you can eventually come up with a process or a mechanism. There's things obviously still these days in medicine and physics and biology that we really don't, we know it happens, but we don't know the mechanism yet. Right. But there's hypothesis and they're testable. So they're trying to get at that. So you have to at least be able to propose something that makes sense to get at the mechanism.
Right.
And that way, once you have that, you can start running tests and seeing if it holds true. So it's kind of, to me, it's just part of the process of understanding the phenomena. Yeah, you got some data. It looks interesting. Maybe it's not, we can't explain it naturally. Okay, so now what do we do with it? We got to come up with something, because if you understand the mechanism, you can change certain variables and see what the effect is.
Right. Exactly. And even if that's a great point, that you may not know the mechanism, but we can see the cause and effect. We can see the effect like in the area of something and know, all right, something is making this effect happen. We know that there should be a mechanism. We have to find it, but we can see the effect of it already. Mm-hmm. We do that a lot with space exploration, dark matter, shit like that. We see the effects of gravity looking out for planets. We see the effect of gravity, and that's how we can detect a potential planet there, in some other solar system. But we got a question from JD, which is something I think I'm going to address at least a little bit. Wouldn't you think the mechanism or means by which ghosts or demons can allegedly manipulate or possess an inanimate object, like a doll, would necessarily have to be different from that of a person? So, I would. And this is going off of the belief system that's already there. Mm-hmm. So, if you're possessing, I feel so stupid saying it. But if something would possess a human or even an animal, it's already a living creature. You have the structure. It's basically a meat suit. You put it on. It's got all the muscles, bone structure, tendons, everything to manipulate the body. But when it comes to dolls, and this is one of my examples, and one thing that I've always had a problem with, when you have a doll, let's get a good one. This thing, like this. No, wait, this is not a good thing. Let me get. Here's one allegedly haunted doll.
Thank God it's in a cage.
Oh, I'm gonna take it out.
Oh, no,
No, you're a dead man now.
I know. Look, it's all creepy and shit.
Nice knowing you, Kenny.
But legs move, arms move. What would be the point of possessing this? Like, how would you manipulate it? I mean, I can manipulate the legs and arms from the outside doing this, but there's no muscles or tendons. There's no bone structure. There's nothing in here that would actually make anything move. So that's always been my big thing. Like, all right, if there's a haunted or cursed doll, this thing stinks. It smells burnt.
The smell of sulfur from the
There
demon.
you go. It's
on.
coming to get my
Get with
soul
it.
tonight because I let her out. But if say the story is that this thing has been seen walking around, or it moves from place to place, what's the mechanism? How would it do it? It's got no internal structure to make that happen. We're a human. We already have this structure in place. We are made to be mobile. So, yeah, I would totally go with possessing people than a doll if I had a choice. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, looking up for this, I guess I can kind of hit on this a little bit here. And dare I say that I'm going to say quantum mechanics in this. But
Oh my God. Here we go.
Qualified. So I think all three of us have a friend. I think we all know him, Rob Lee, who actually studies quantum mechanics and is a science writer. In 2018, he wrote an article, not necessarily, I guess what JD said, I'm not opposed to that. I just kind of think, it's learning. It's about learning what it is, but I digress. So one of the things I was able to see, he wrote Physics versus the Phantom, and he in depth looks at the physics of what would have to happen. But the important thing that he talks about is what would have to happen to make an object move or pass through a solid object or make a cold spot, would also leave measurable traces behind. So you could actually measure it, and knowing what's going on or trying to find what's going on is, I guess, important in the sense that it's just the seek of knowledge. But even looking for that, now I'm going on a different track. I'm trying not to. I'll
Stay on target.
Huh?
Stay on target.
I am.
Stay on target.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, yeah, I'm certainly not saying that there couldn't be something else from somewhere else in the world or dimension that could come in and possess a book or possess a doll or possess a cat or whatever. But the interesting thing about the mechanics of that is that it should be measurable. And looking at what he wrote about it helped me kind of understanding like if that is possible, at least as we understand it now, it should be measurable. It should leave some type of energy trace.
Damn it.
Either in the environment itself, a change in the environment, or an addition or removal of something in the environment. So I think I'm not opposed to it, but I would like to see it happen. Like, I would like, again, it just boils down to, I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's a good question that something from somewhere else that we have no idea that could function on our rules, on our physics laws,
Right,
could do that. But why not look for it? I think that's a wealth of knowledge to have if you can figure that out.
Okay. So if you're talking about manipulating an object like a doll, wouldn't they have to be different from that of a person? All right. So maybe not. And I'm going to go just a little off the mainstream science
We are.
track and go into the parapsychology track, because there's a reason why parapsychologists hope to find and study poltergeist or RSPK phenomena. Because one of their ideas is, if it's legitimate and things really are moving, that it's a living agent that it's tagged to. So they don't know they don't know the mechanism. I'll tell you that right now, if there is something going on. But there's some cases that, yeah, there's been some interesting stuff, and they bring them into the lab and they don't do too well, but then they have little things happen. It's elusive, I'll give you that. This is just a possibility.
Right.
To make the argument that it doesn't necessarily have to be maybe different if you look at it from that point of view. Because they have documented, supposedly, when objects have moved in those cases, a couple things. One, they find that they're either hot or cold after they move. There's static electricity charges that seem built up on them. And there might be some changes in radiation. The other thing they found is that the distance the object is that moved from the person who's supposed to be the focal agent, it decreases with distance. So you see more movement of objects close to the person versus far away from the person. So that does follow one of the main laws of physics.
So are we talking now?
But
I guess I'm trying to establish here now, is there a difference between possessing the doll, which for me means getting inside of it,
I'm not talking about possessing the shit at all.
Pushing it.
No, pushing it. I'm talking about pushing it.
Okay.
So if you argue it from that standpoint, maybe the mechanism wouldn't be different, because if and this big if, I'm just big if you can move it with forces that we aren't currently aware of, whatever, you can move it with your mind, psychokinesis. If you can do it when you're living, the argument would be, if some part of your consciousness survives death, then why wouldn't you be able to do it then? So that's one argument. But there's a lot of freaking unknowns there.
Right.
And there's a lot of proof and data that's missing. The one thing I just want to make sure we keep reiterating is, we got all these people that think these objects are possessed and moved. Where is the actual data, video, anything that shows definitively that this is actually happening?
Right.
Where is it? Especially possessing these things.
Yeah.
Because the whole view, even again with, and I argue a lot from the parapsychology, because I read a lot of that stuff, even objects that are supposedly haunted, possessed, whatever, they don't buy into that. They basically say, if anything, it's serving as a focal point for you to focus and try to figure and whatever, see other things or pick up on other things. It's not really haunted. You're just using it as a focal point to make a link, kind of like in associative remote viewing. That's their argument. But again, what I'm talking about is still a stretch out of mainstream science. So I really don't know. You think about it, what kind of force would have to be applied there? There's a recent study that shows that this little object in, was it Black Moon Manor? Is that the place you investigated, Kenny? Was that the one, or there's some other place that was referenced in one of the journal articles I sent you? It doesn't matter what the place is.
Whitehall Mansion, I think.
What they found is that they observed this ball on a bed that moved on its own. But what they found through very detailed monitoring and data collection is there were increases and decreases, spikes, peaks, and valleys in the electromagnetic field that were associated with that object movement. But they're still not saying it's ghosts.
That's the important thing. They're still not saying it's ghosts. But
I don't know how would you, if it's a book or a doll, and I don't demonic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything. But how does, even if your consciousness survives bodily death, and let's say your consciousness is, let's speculate, it's all the electromagnetic activity your brain made, the cohesiveness of brain waves through the neurons and the signature with the electromagnetic fields. Let's say that somehow survives. How does it stay an independent in time and space blob of consciousness?
Right. How does it stay together?
How does it do that? And then how in the hell does it link to or stick to or be glued to an object?
Yeah. How? Yeah. I mean,
I know.
That's it. That's the ultimate mechanism. How does your consciousness stay together, formed, retaining a consciousness? How does that happen? And why possess a doll or a book or a car or something? Because I see, like, in the chat room, I don't know if they're joking around or not, but I mean, they're like, why not possess a gun or a knife, make a knife move around or a gun or anything. I mean, I have an entire room full of things that would creep anyone the fuck out if they all started moving.
Mm-hmm.
So have at it. Plus, I also have a corner where there's like 2 or 3 dozen haunted objects that haven't done anything since I've had them.
Neither is my book.
Yeah. So what's your book supposed to do?
Cause dread.
Tim, there's a lot of books I read and a lot of classes in college with textbooks that caused dread.
Yeah.
They were not freaking haunted.
Calculus.
Oh my goodness.
So Carol, real quick, I'll respond. That thing that moved across the room in the old house, what do you think about it? It moved. I can't find a natural explanation for it. I don't know. I think about it and go, that shouldn't have happened, but it did. But I don't know what the mechanism would be. I don't know. And that's one of the things that keeps me interested. It was very rare. I had never had anything really happen like that since then or before that. And I just don't know. It could have been one of those things. It could be such a rare chance coincidence. Some weird thing could have happened. Some weird natural phenomena could have happened. And it happened that one time.
Right.
Anyway, I really, to tell you the truth, I don't know what to think of it.
So,
which means I'm admitting I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying I'm not saying for sure it was a ghost. I'm not saying it's not. I don't know what it was.
Rubbish.
Well, even if it wasn't a ghost,
it was rubbish.
Even if it wasn't, let's just say
it's cool if it wasn't.
The event standing alone by itself is still cool as hell.
Yes.
I mean, regardless of trying to put a reason behind it, something moving without us being able to observe what caused it to move is still cool.
I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. I mean, we talked about this a little bit, the whole random number generator thing. There's a group up in Canada that did all these studies that asked people to influence these random number generators, and they found out they could. And then they found out, they measured that, hey, you have a lot of biophotons, which is a known thing that humans produce. You have an uptick in biophotons coming off of you when that thing deviated. So now they're looking at going, whoa, there might be a natural physical explanation for this, while some people would still think it's paranormal.
Biophotons really fucked me up. So I love that. I love my journey with biophotons. For Bob, I can't remember the physicist that you're talking about, but I think you're talking about quantum tunneling. Or eventually, if you could throw a tennis ball against the wall, it has every throw that you give has a slight chance to go through it.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's the thing about quantum physics, is a lot of it has to do with probabilities.
Yeah.
A lot of probability. But when you scale up to the macro world, it gets a lot more difficult, and you don't see as much on the quantum scale because I might be getting this totally wrong. We really need Rob to chime in on this.
Right.
But the noise and classical mechanical physics takes over.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try to get Rob on a future show. That would be fun. That
really would be fun.
Yeah.
I think we've gone way off the path, but
anyway. All right. So getting back, rein back in. So one of the examples that I have is the Xbox Kinect. And this is something I've researched, I've written about, I've done videos about it. And I'm always curious because we still don't know the mechanism. the I guess tribal knowledge that goes along with this is that because the Kinect uses infrared light, and we all know infrared light just lights up ghosts.
I love that
because
shit.
it uses infrared light that it's able to see things that are in the environment that we can't see, and therefore that's why it's there's these stick figures that show up, and it sees ghosts, and that's why people think, okay, great, it's detecting something. There has to be something there if it's assigning a stick figure. And my biggest gripe with that is that the most obvious is that it does use infrared light. It uses what's called an infrared speckle pattern. So it puts out all the dots. If you've seen that one, like Paranormal Activity, like number 48, I don't know which one it was, but they use it as part of the plot, moving the plot forward, because you see all these dots all over the place in the room when it's on. That's exactly what it does.
Mm-hmm.
But the camera, the infrared depth camera that it uses, sees those dots. It knows where the dots are supposed to be. It knows the pattern. So if one's smaller than it should be, it knows it's farther away. If it's oblong, because it's distorted going around a corner, it knows it's going around a corner. So that's how it tracks the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But it still uses infrared light.
Okay.
So if the infrared light, according to the ghost hunters that use this device, if that's bouncing off of an entity coming back to the camera and therefore saying there is a figure there, we're assigning a stick figure because we see a figure there. Therefore, I should be able to take an infrared equipped camera, point it at it, and see that ghost. Because it's using infrared light.
The properties of the ghost, let's just say that there's a ghost. If you're saying that the properties of the ghost that is there causes the infrared beams of light or the infrared
be reflected
particles must reflect. Okay, one, that also means, at least my understanding, and I could be wrong, and I probably am, but that also means that ghost has some type of mass.
Yes.
Yes.
Same concept with the non-contact IR thermometers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would be the argument that one infrared could pick it up, but not the other? Like, I see what you're saying.
See, I think that's the problem, though. They're why are they saying the ghost is infrared and would be picked up with infrared cameras when the actual mechanism of the Kinect is to send a whole bunch of infrared light dots and then measure the amount that comes back? So it's got to hit something with mass, right?
It's got to hit something with mass that reflects infrared light,
which is pretty much it. I mean,
non-visible light,
right? But that doesn't mean it's hitting infrared light and sending infrared light back to the
right.
So that's totally wrong. Which you would think if they're right, if they say it's infrared, then all these infrared cameras, the Sony Handycam, the Night Shot, the Night Vision, the infrared film for the old 35 millimeter cameras, that all should produce consistent results. So to me, that's not a mechanism.
So that's what I'm talking about. Like
that's where we were. Yeah.
I mean, that's the big issue I have. I mean, besides the fact that the ghost hunters are using it against the instructions. So the basic instructions are you have to have the camera stable. It has to be in one place. That's it. You can't walk around with it because it's when you start it up, it looks at the environment. It actually does like a cycle where it goes up and down. That was the cycle that I went through. And it's literally scanned the area. It said, okay, I look, I see this. I know this area, which is, I believe, either a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 12 area, according to Microsoft, has to be clear of furniture. That's it. It has to be clear because it's for a game. And the only things that are supposed to be in that area are supposed to be the players. That's it. So when you're in an environment that has chairs, curtains, drawers, tables, coffee tables, what have you, lights, cameras, tripods, whatever, it's going to look at all this stuff and think, okay, am I seeing a person? And another thing with that is that the software is programmed to make guesses. Because when you use the Kinect, most of the time people were using it for games like Dance Party. And when you dance, you turn. And when you turn, one of your arms, one of your legs disappears. It's no longer there because you're turning this way and your arm is gone. And the software has to make a guess like, okay, that arm is probably behind them. So it's still a person, even though I don't see that other arm or that other leg. Therefore, you can put a chair out. You can put something like this, a folding chair out, and it will see that and say, hey, that kind of looks like a person. And I've actually done that. I have videos up on my YouTube channel showing that like it picks this up as a person. Backpacks, trash bags, all this stuff. So there's solid objects that it will mistake as a person. But when there's nothing in the area, it's still not, it doesn't mean that the 10 by 10 area is all that it looks at, because the infrared light is still going past that 10 feet. So if there's stuff in the background, curtains or other furniture, it's going to see that and potentially say, okay, there might be a person there. Let me put a stick figure. And I've done it all over my house. I've taken it all over my house and had stick figures on my ceiling fan, the archway between rooms, my couch, my fireplace, my television, everything. Even my son, one of the things that he did was he got in front of it, stick figure was on him, and he walked over to a chest of drawers. He put his hand on it, and the stick figure went from him onto the dresser that he was touching. And then he walked away, and the stick figure stayed there. Not a ghost, but it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, like, this is just showing examples how it's flawed, but it really goes back to what's the mechanism by which it determines that something, maybe midair or something, is allegedly a ghost. But if I use the same mechanism, the infrared light reflecting off an alleged object, why doesn't the same mechanism for a visible camera that'll pick up and interpret infrared light so that I can see it, why doesn't that show me the entity? And that's always my biggest point. And I haven't got an answer yet for that.
This is a big question. I mean, that if you think about it, this is a big question. Like, what the hell? Like, what is the mechanism? What is the properties that are there, assuming that it's real, jumping off the branch to say that something's there, and not in direct confrontation of the thought that something's real, but just the thought that what is the mechanism? Like, what is going on? That's really kind of a big thought. I mean, if you just trying to wrap your head around it, it's a big question, and I can understand why people don't want to answer it and why people don't want to say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The best I had to read Rob's. I posted a link to that. I had to read that. I mean, he broke it down kind of like we say, Big Bird style, which is you break it down so that the lay person can understand it. And even in doing that, that there's a lot of particulars in what he had to leave out that is even more complex.
Right. I liken this to a good analogy, a real world analogy would be using a laser grid. So when ghost hunters turn off the lights and then turn on a laser grid, stupid. If someone walks in, if an actual person walk through that area, the laser, which is visible light, reflects off of us. You will see us in that dark room. You're going to see all the dots reflect off of us. It's visible light. The same way that if you if somebody else walks over to the light switch and goes click, turns on the light, boom, you see me. You see all of me, not just the dots on me. This is the same concept that should be applied to the Kinect and infrared cameras. I mean, I should be able to see whatever's there. And if I don't see whatever's there, it's not working that way. That's not the mechanism that is making this happen. There's something else involved. Software issues. That's what it is. Yep. I mean, that's the solution that I can tell you there. But so that's my gripe. That's my big example.
I'm telling you.
It's a great thing. I mean, because it keeps coming up, and I see video after video, and I see people asking questions. And that's one article I wrote a while ago, and it actually mentions our founder, if you will, and I misspelled his name, which I never lived that one down. But yeah, I mean, I can find the link while you guys chime in on this, and then I'll post it in the chat room. So what do you guys have to offer, or you got another example?
Yeah, I was going to go ahead, Tim, if you got one.
No, I was just going to kind of reiterate on just the thought of saying it's okay to say you don't know. I guess the danger and the belief of it is to skip over like hard questions like this. And I'm sure that this isn't the only difficult question, or at least I find it's fascinating to me, but probably scary to some because it challenges a belief rather than an idea. But the scary part is it's like using the Kinect, it picks up a ghost, or a ghost moved that object. And how did it do it? Well, it's easy just to say, well, we don't know everything in the world. We don't know science. Science doesn't know everything. And everybody kind of go, oh yeah, cool. Okay. And then move on. Like it's dangerous to do that. Like that is like an important bridge to me of an understanding. The danger in it is it becomes a habit of, or at least in my thoughts, it would become a habit to always skip over the very difficult questions. At least acknowledge, and I think it's fair to say, I have no clue. I have no clue. It's a known unknown, I guess, as you would say.
Right.
And it's important to address it. And right now we don't know. So, anyway, I just kind of think it's dangerous. That's relatively speaking, I guess, in terms of the paranormal community or hobby, to just kind of skip over that.
Cool. Dave, what do you got?
EMF.
Let's get into that shit.
All right. So 5 things. 1, you'd have to determine a correlation between paranormal activity and EMFs. You got to rule out the normal. 2, humans would have to produce enough EMF in amplitude and frequency that would have to be detected by an EMF meter. 3, when you die, whatever it is that survives maintains, holds, or produces enough of that EMF at a strength, frequency, amplitude that would be detected by the meters. And let's say most of the ones we're talking about there's the K2s and some of the other popular ones floating around there. Then how would the ghost or entity or whatever, how are they, because an electromagnetic field is you have a current that's moving, and that induces a magnetic field. How are they doing that? In the human body, obviously, you have electrochemical gradients and movement. You have sodium-potassium channels. You have the membrane potential, action potential, and those are actually charged particles that are flowing, opening, and closing as they move down cells and membranes, and there's differentials across the membrane. So, of course, the body has the ability to produce electrical currents and very, very small magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields based on electrochemical activity. So not only would the ghost have to do that then, most of these meters, while they're calibrated at 50 or 60 hertz, they can pick up different frequencies. So if you're going to tell me let's say you tell me, and let's say they've come up with a meter that only detects 50 and 60. So you're then telling me that the ghost or entity can take what maybe have survived from the human body, which is not necessarily 50 or 60 hertz. If you're looking at brainwave frequencies, what, 0.5 to 35 hertz, how are they using what they have to modulate whatever's there to make a 50, 60 hertz field that's picked up by your meter? So a little more detail. You can detect a magnetic field in various parts of the human body externally. And it's usually, get this, 10 to the minus 10th to 10 to the minus 5 or 6 Gauss. Milligauss is 10 to the minus 3. So the first thing, ain't none of you fucking people picking up a human being with your K2 meter.
Yeah,
not sensitive enough.
Dropping the F-bombs.
Sorry. So what they have to do, has anyone okay, we'll talk about that. You have to use a superconducting quantum interference device to determine magnetic fields from a human. So there's no way. So then we talked about the cells, the excitable cells, and how they work, and the ion flow. But when you die, some of that they would have to assume this energy isn't created or destroyed. It just goes on. Bullshit. It's transformed. We had a whole show on that.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, how would you take your brain and the electromagnetic activity and the brain waves, and how do you keep it in an amorphous blob that floats around and can be detected by a meter? And it's strong enough now. It wasn't strong enough when it was in your body, but now magically it's strong enough to trip your K2 meter. How does that happen?
Magic.
It's obviously magic. And the whole thing is, and then you're assuming that it's somewhere between what these meters can pick up. Yeah, they're 50 to 60 hertz. And you know what? I've ran Fluxgate magnometers at haunted locations a lot of times, and these are things that you can figure out the frequency. And any, supposedly, even if you can't explain anomalous EMF readings, they're all in the 50, 60 hertz range. And it's 60 hertz in the US, but the guy who did the work in the UK, Dr. Braithwaite, he found 50 hertz. Those are both the mains frequencies in the US and the UK. So if you're telling me that's a ghost trip in your meter, guess what? It's magically working with your mains power frequency in your home. How is it doing that? So it's somehow, it's a signal. So you're telling me it's a signal that hits some sort of 50, 60 hertz carrier wave and modulates it in amplitude for your K2 meter to pick it up. Tell me how it does that.
So I want to chime in here and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when we're talking about the EMF meters, like the K2 or your standard, cheap, like 10 to like $60, $50 or whatever meters. Yep. These are calibrated to 50 to 60 hertz.
Right. They're frequency weighted. So if you get like a reading of 2 at 60 hertz, you could pick up 120 hertz frequency, but it'll have a different reading. That's
what I'm getting at.
Right. So it's frequency weighted. So you get the biggest linear response there, but you do get responses above and below that.
Right. So yeah, it's for people that don't understand what we're talking about. They are calibrated for 60 or 50 to 60 hertz, which means that if you get a reading and you know that the frequency that you're picking up is 50 or 60 hertz, you're getting a accurate reading plus or minus I think like 5%, or depending on what the specs are. But yes, it will pick up something else. It'll pick up 70 or 40 or 30, whatever hertz. And if you don't know what the frequency is, you don't know if you're getting an accurate reading.
But that's why I invested $1,200 at one point in a Fluxgate magnometer, because I wanted to know what the damn frequency was. I wanted to know what the frequency was, and every time it was 60 hertz, which is the power frequency of your house and electronic devices.
And
the guy who did it in the UK did the same stuff. He did it before me, actually. He taught me how to do it. He found 50 hertz, and guess what? That's the main power frequency
Right.
in the UK.
Right. So yeah, that's a big issue.
So tell me how your non-detectable by K2 meter electromagnetic field in your body survives death,
Mhm.
your consciousness, and magically now is strong enough to be picked up on an amplitude range of a K2 meter in the milligauss range, which has to be what, 1,000 to 1,000,000 times higher in strength, and supposedly, from what the data says, at the main power frequency of your house. How is that working? The ghost is an electrician.
When you die, you drop all that weight. So you don't have all of this insulation that we have. So therefore, your personal EMF field, your personal EM field, is more out there. You're that sounds stupid just saying it. Sorry. I'm trying to go with the flow here.
It's just when you start thinking of these things, it makes it really hard to explain the mechanism by which people are saying ghosts are made of electromagnetic fields or they manipulate them to make your meter go off.
Right. I got a question from Bob. With regards to recording ghost voices, wouldn't that mean that ghosts would have to have enough mass to possess a vocal cord?
I think the argument is a lot of EVPs, you don't hear them when you're listening. So they think the people who support EVP think it's affecting something in the recorder, either the magnetics or the analog to digital conversion in the digital recorders. Maybe
you don't like. I think my example would to show that you don't. This doesn't hold true. Is if I do this. Did you hear that?
Yep.
There was no vocal cord involved.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need a vocal cord to make a noise. You basically need a vibration. And not the metaphysical higher and lower vibrational shit. You just need something that vibrates. And it cause a vibration. You need the medium, not a psychic medium, but the medium that this vibration passes through, whether it's air, solid object, what have you. That's how you create sound. So from my perspective, I find that most EVPs are either caused by the people there, the ghost hunters themselves, whether they're talking, they're whispering because they don't, even though they have the rule no whispering, they always fucking whisper. Somebody always does. I guarantee it.
Boy, your wife is causing trouble tonight.
You got shit. You get. Is she yelling at me?
No, she's not yelling at you.
Okay, all right. I'll make it short.
You'll see it.
Shit. Now you distracted me. So you get ghost hunters usually whispering. If they're shifting, you get the friction from clothing. If they're moving around, you get the creaking of the floorboards, moving of furniture, what have you, and then you get outside noises. There's a lot that can be attributed to alleged EVPs. So it's very hard, unless it's under strict controlled conditions, it's very hard to show that they are from a ghost or have no cause. It's at least for me, it's very difficult to show that it doesn't have a natural source.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, I don't think you necessarily have to show that an entity has mass. Something has mass, and it causes the sound. That would be my perspective.
Yeah, I mean that's right. And what Kenny said, and there's obviously some other proposed mechanisms out there. So, Tim, what do you think?
I don't like EVPs, period. So, not a fan of them. I used to be a big fan of them, but no, not a fan of them.
Okay.
I actually going through and listening to, or watching and reading the comments. There's a lot of good examples, and I like Stacy's an AI voice as opposed to just strictly vocal cords to make words. Unless and I don't want to take Bob's question out of context. I think what he means is just, if there's supposed to be a ghost standing next to you, then if it's going to make a noise or give you a message to EVP, then it shouldn't have some type of vocal cord.
I think supposedly, though, some EVPs have been reportedly recorded without a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Just the recorder running. So
that's
doesn't
something I'd
necessarily
like
need to be a voice or even a sound vibration.
I mean, I've heard the same reports or rumors, but I've never actually been able to get a copy of one.
Nope, me neither.
And even then, I'd be suspicious. Like, all right, how do I know that this was recorded without a microphone? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Because even though most ghost hunters use strict scientific controls, I have my doubts. So it would definitely take a lot for me to. No, actually, it would just take me being there to confirm that there was no microphone. And then you have to deal with the medium. Like, okay, was there something pre-recorded? Are we talking digital, analog? Was there something on the tape already? Was there something already recorded? I mean, I've come across psychics, alleged psychics, that claim to have EVPs, and they would play a recording, and I found that they had pre-recorded stuff, and just held the recorder in their hand, and never did anything. So, lots of problems with that.
So, question. This is making me have ideas, which is dangerous. Can you isolate a microphone in a vacuum and then see if it picks up? Because I'm going to imagine you'll need to have air for the medium, but the problem would be, I guess
if you don't have air, if there's no air in surrounding the microphone, you don't have a medium for which that vibration will reach that microphone, the diaphragm in that microphone. So you can't have sound.
I was thinking about just how to isolate it completely, because if you put a microphone in an object and then create a vacuum inside that object, it's like, what is that object resting on? Could any type of vibrations go through the desk into the jar and then into the I'm sure the microphone would have to be resting on the bottom of the jar or the bottom of the box. And
if you have physical contact,
you would have to.
Yes, you can have sound. So like astronauts have gone through this, where you can't send sound through space. Like if they're on a spacewalk, they're outside, they're tethered. But if they do something like this outside the spacecraft, the shuttle, no one will hear that. But if they actually go up to the viewing window and hit it, yes, there's a physical transfer of that. So you do produce sound.
Yeah. My question is, how would you account for that? So that's where I was going with my thought, would be like, how do you suspend a microphone in a vacuum so that it's not touching anything? I don't know if that's possible unless you.
I think the only thing you could do really is the setup like what I have in front of me. You put it in a shock mount, and this pretty much the shock mount it's spring loaded so that all the vibrations are absorbed by the springs. It doesn't get to the microphone. So when I tap on the table, you're not getting it on the microphone. The only physical connection is the wire here. And if there's, I think that would be it, unless.
Well, I mean, you could argue that the wire is connected to the microphone.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a physical connection.
Like I guess the analogy that like I'm bringing it to in my mind is like absolute zero. so one of the reasons you think about not being able to reach absolute zero is because you can't, I guess, permanently
do it.
isolate an object.
You would need to be in space with a wireless microphone and
All right, let's start a GoFundMe.
Let it go and say, there you go. It's not physically in contact with anything in the vacuum of space. If we get a sound, I will say that's a ghost.
That's an alien, because alien.
Universe has sounds in it already. So, I mean, when you listen to, off topic, definitely. But when you listen to some of the recordings from our probes on other planets, oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's chaotic, but it's beautiful. So, all right. So we're over the hour mark. I mean, let me see where, I don't see the comments. Was your wife commenting, Dave?
No, your wife was.
Oh, my wife. Oh, okay. That's why I'm like, oh shit. I'm looking because I thought we could bring up another topic to get into. So,
was it JD had a question that was interesting? If you can see a ghost, wouldn't it have to have mass to reflect light?
Where's that up? I see
one question. Up there quite a bit.
Sound. Looking for the cue. I like how people are carrying over my suggestion about cue or question before the comment, because that helps so much. That really does. JD, where is it? Holy shit!
It's way up.
Way. Looking for it. I don't see it. Can you read it off?
I'll try to find it. I'm scrolling up now.
I see a couple questions.
Here we go. JD at 7:39 p.m. For a ghost to be visible in broad daylight, it would have to reflect light, right? Sure, unless it's a hallucination, which that's a whole nother topic.
Wow, this won't let me go up. Like I'm scrolling up the comments and it only lets me go up to 802.
Yeah, mine too.
That's interesting. Fuck. All right. So read that again, Dave, please.
Oh, now I just went back down.
God damn it.
Pay attention, God damn it.
For a ghost to be seen during the day, it would have to reflect the light.
Yep. For a ghost to be visible in broad daylight, it would have to reflect light, right?
It would have to reflect visible light.
Yes.
So we do deal with different kinds of light. We have infrared light. Before it gets into just total heat, we have UV, but visible light is a very, very, very small sliver of the EM spectrum. But yes, in order to see it during the day or the night, whatever, it doesn't matter. For us to actually see a ghost, it would have to reflect visible light.
But there's a difference between seeing it and perceiving it. You may not see it,
right?
But you could perceive it if it's a hallucination. Which I have a book. It's called Apparitions by Green and McCreary, and they have tons of studies and case studies they pull from the old Society of Psychical Research files, and they make the argument that ghosts are hallucinations. And they give all kinds of examples and characteristics. And if you read it, it's kind of eye-opening. It's like, yeah, they probably are.
I don't know. I agree with you. I tend to agree with you. I think that they are not only hallucinations, but not necessarily like, I don't know how to explain it. I think if you go into an environment where you're a complete believer, you're a total believer, you heard the rumors, you heard the stories, you go in there, you see something, and even though you don't know what it is, I think, and this is totally my opinion, I think you just fill in the blanks. You fill in the details and say, you somehow justify, okay, I saw something that must be the ghost of Oliver Twist. I'm sorry, I was really reaching for something. You see the ghost of Oliver that has been reported there before, even though you might not have seen an actual figure, you saw something, and within the first nanoseconds of comprehension, you determine that this is a ghost. Is that a hallucination? Or maybe a self-induced, created hallucination? I don't know. I'm not sure how to interpret that. I mean, again, I'm just coming up with bullshit off the top of my head, so don't pay any attention. I've been drinking all day. So I'm gonna move on. Are you guys good with
I'm good.
Hanging out for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, because I do see other questions, and I do like to get to them if I can.
They're fun questions.
Let me.
Why do we, by Stacy? Why do we not see modern ghosts? We do. People do report them. There's a study that just came out. They do report modern ghosts quite a bit. A lot of times, people don't realize they're seeing a ghost until after it goes away. That's one of the characteristics and one of the things they found in that study. And I don't know, what do you mean by modern? I mean, a lot of people that see, let's say, a crisis apparition or the ghost of somebody who's recently died or departed. That's modern to me. Even if it's your grandmother, it's pretty modern to me.
Yeah, modern relative.
Right. Yeah, modern is like, modern could be a wide range. That could be the last, 20, 30, 40 years.
The older I get, modern gets to be a much larger time period for me.
People still refer to the 80s, and I'm like, yeah, that was like 2 years ago.
Very modern.
My God, I'm showing my age. Okay, so
maybe another question would be, how come we don't see cave people ghosts?
Ooh. Why don't we just see dinosaurs? People report ghosts of cats and dogs and other pets.
Houses, cars.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of reports of inanimate objects.
Do we answer this question from JD? Sound waves can't spontaneously generate without some kind of physical material source. Can they? No. At least I don't think they can.
At least
as far as I know.
Yeah.
Even if you want to say some shit like EVP is pure sound waves, that's not an explanation. Pure sound waves. Sound waves are waves. They are vibrational,
magnetic energy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is by nature. Something has to cause that. So yeah, I don't.
And you kind of talk about the whole signal receiver idea, where some people propose the hypothesis that our consciousness, your brain, your body is nothing but the TV set, and you're receiving a signal from somewhere else. Now, I don't necessarily buy into that, but I mean, the same thing with the sound waves. I mean, how do you pick up radio waves in your car? It's a signal, AM or FM frequency or amplitude modulated. There's a signal, a carrier wave, and then it goes through the air. You can't see it, but it is an electromagnetic energy, and it hits the antenna in your car and gets converted back into sound waves that are produced through the magnets in your speakers, and then you hear.
Right.
So I don't know, EVP, like I said before, people think EVP, they claim they've recorded it without microphones. They claim it might be something to do with the electromagnetics in the recorder, or they claim it could be something that's interacting with the analog to digital converters, but nobody's ever really done enough experiments to prove that out.
So we don't know the mechanism?
No, we don't know the mechanism. We have no idea. There's actually people that claim that they have picked up EVPs, and I still don't see a peer-reviewed study on this, that they were able to pick up the voices of people that were sleeping. They weren't talking, supposedly. They were just dreaming or whatever, and then they picked up their voices in EVPs. but surprisingly, it's never been published or reviewed.
So Donna has a question. How do we know ghosts don't look like us? We don't.
They would not be as good looking as us, obviously.
Well, it's hard to copy perfection.
Oh,
Damn.
Oh, let me get the boots on. It's getting thick.
Oh, you better get the waist-high waders.
hold on. Let me pull up
Shit's
my-
Well, that's the
flowing.
one thing. A lot of people, Donna, that's an interesting thing you bring up because I think I stated it before. A lot of times people don't realize, at least the reports are, that people don't realize they're witnessing a ghost until they kind of look the other way, look back, and oh, it's gone. There really wasn't somebody there. So they actually, it seems like they look like us a lot. The one thing that a lot of people note is they don't seem to have feet. They always seem to be floating, which is weird.
Well, you hear a lot of like black mass or the quote unquote shadow people that
Oh,
And
are.
I'll go back to the historical. Where the fuck are all the reports of that back all the way from the 1800s when they actually did a survey of 17,000 people reported?
I think that's your modern ghost. That's your modern ghost. Modern ghost shadow
in the wrong
people came about in like the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when they started coming into I guess the popular culture. There was no report of shadow figures before then. Or you might have your occasional wraith, or demonic kind of presence or nightmarish kind of presence, but they were never referred to as a shadow figure. And so I think there you go. That's your modern day ghost, your shadow figures. But
I don't know. Sometimes I think the last 10 to 20 years of ghost hunting and reports of ghosts need to be thrown out and just start over.
yeah.
Anyway.
But I mean, to answer the question, like I don't know what they're supposed to look like. I mean, when you talk about people, you're talking about the meat suit. This is what we look like. This is physical meat suit. This is what we look like. But once you strip that away, this body dies. This vehicle, whatever, what have you, stops and shuts down. What's left?
Lloyd Auerbach, which you know him, you've talked to him.
Yes, yeah, I've talked to him a couple
And
times.
he will tell people that if your consciousness survives and you're a ghost, you appear to people the way you think you look or the way you want to look. He actually talks about cases where they thought they had a ghost of a young girl, I think a teenager and an old woman haunting a location. And when they dug up the pictures, they actually found out it was the same person, but it was being perceived differently, which is really an interesting case study. It was being perceived differently by the parents and the teenage boy and the young kid, the real young girl, because the idea was maybe the ghost was appearing to these people in something they would relate to better at a certain stage of their life. It's an interesting, I kind of remember him talking about that. Like, I don't know, maybe not, but it's kind of a cool thought process to go through. Because if you close your eyes and think about what you look like, that his argument is that's how you would appear to somebody.
I look hot. All right. Moving on.
Like, there's something I want to point out on Rob's article about science versus the phantoms that I have never thought about until I saw this. And while we're talking about energy and mass and things having mass and things, disappearing, like you see a ghost, you turn around and you're, oh my God, I thought I saw something. You turn around and it's gone. He talks about the release of energy when something is changed from energy to mass or mass to energy. And he uses the analogy of the disappearing hitchhiker. And this is really good. So he talks about, the hitchhiker that's picked up. She hops in front of the car. She hops in the front seat. She has a fancy white dress. Anyway, they talk for a little while. He gives her a ride, hits the brakes. She jumps out and she's gone. So he goes on and says, well, let's just take a typical look at the average living female's mass. So he just guesses 74.4 kilograms. Okay, I don't know however much that is in the United States. Where her switch, and he's got the really nice information here, her switch from mass to energy would result in the release of energy that would be greater than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. So I had never this is really kind of a interesting point that I'm going to have to read some more on. And that is going from energy to mass and mass to energy, as we hear often alleged by ghosts and ghost sightings. I don't know if that's what happens. I don't think he's saying that's what happens, but if you're going to report, I saw a ghost, I looked down, looked up, and the ghost was gone, or a ghost I had physical interaction with, or a ghost touched me, I looked and it's gone.
To me, he's just supporting the fact that they have no mass. There is nothing there. It's probably some sort of internally in your mind generated hallucination. Not that hallucination's a bad thing, but where that information is coming from to get you to perceive that hallucination is a debate that's been going on probably for 50 or 100 years in parapsychology. So I personally don't think ghosts have mass. I don't buy that at all, because we would have way more evidence of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's his argument, is just showing that if somebody of that type of weight would switch from mass to energy, that the energy released from that would be enormous.
Right.
And I've never considered that. It's really kind of an awesome thought. Where's my notebook?
I think the basic idea here is we're attributing superpowers to the dead. So it's not enough that you are now free of your body and you can float around wherever you want, and apparently not like scatter across the universe, but you have these superpowers where you can go back and forth between having mass and not having mass, being visible, not visible, being tangible, not tangible, whatever, what have you, all at your beck and call. And that, I think that's a very extraordinary claim, because if you're pushing stuff, if you're manipulating solid objects, you have to be solid to do that. You or generate some kind of source like a magnetic field or something like that. You have to be able to do this. Another superpower. To be seen at will, you have to be able to turn it on and off. Another superpower. This is amazing. I mean, I'm not afraid of death if this is what I get. Like I'm all for it. Like, oh, this is great. I can freak the fuck out, whoever I want. But there's a lot to it that just seems so imaginative. This is more science fiction, and like comic book movie kind of thing, rather than reality to me.
Yep.
So
that's why I think people need to think, if they're going to come up with hypotheses, I think we need to go down a different path instead of insisting that these things have mass and they can interact with our physical world like that. And one of the first places to start is to start making sure what data you've collected actually isn't just natural or noise or not significant. You got to figure out, is there really a correlation between any of this? That I saw something and it correlates with something that either happened or somebody who died, or can you even make that case?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you come up with a hypothesis, it's not just, I think this.
No.
I think ghosts are real. That's not a hypothesis. It's more, I think ghosts are real because, and you explain why. You explain the mechanism by which that belief comes from, that question comes from, and then you set out to
Yep.
test it to see if it, whether or not it's true. So, yeah, I think there has to be some kind of mechanism for your hypothesis, and then you go from there.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm feeling drunk. I'm feeling good.
I drink a lot.
Oh, Carol asked me that book again. It's Apparitions by Celia Green. Just look that up on Amazon. You'll find it.
Talked about the brain energy to minuscule.
Okay.
You talked about brain energy too minuscule to read on an EMF, but if that energy switched to mass,
how would it do that? That's my question. How
Yes,
would you do
yeah.
that? Because your brain, the electromagnetic fields and electrical currents in your brain are due to differences in the charge on the inside and the outside of all the cells. And when you die, that breaks down, and that electrochemical, all those sodium, potassium channels and ions go away.
it dissipates.
It
It goes into
dissipates.
the environment. Yes.
Actually, the ions just kind of break down with everything else. And then actually, if you want to think your energy is converted to switch to mass, sure, all the bacteria and bugs and everything that decompose you and eat you, they're taking your energy and converting it to their mass.
I have lots of calories in me. I could sustain like a whole colony of ants for years.
Tim's going to be my dead ant colony when he goes.
Have you all ever interviewed a Buddhist monk? Because they say our spirits float around, simplified, for 49 years, 49 days. I'm sorry, before oh shit, I can't even talk. 49 days before reincarnated. That would be cool to hear. I have not talked to any Buddhist monk except for the ones that hang around airports giving me little business cards asking for donations.
Pretty sure they're not Buddhist monks.
Only ones that I've interacted with. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think they're actual monks. But
I've never talked to them, but I've read a lot of the stuff on reincarnation. It's interesting, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, that's about it. It's interesting, but I don't really put anything to it yet.
It is one of the more well-researched areas, though, if you look at the quality of people and institutions that have actually looked into it. It's a lot more, it's right, it's probably above ghosts and hauntings, to tell you the truth.
All right, gentlemen, we are at an hour and a half.
And we need to play our old theme. So before we end tonight, can we play our old theme so then we can tell people what it says?
Maybe. I don't know if I have it.
Then we'll wrap it up, and then maybe the new theme.
Let me see. I don't know if I have it. I think I deleted it, and I don't know if I have it on my desktop here. I think I only have it on my. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Nope, there's nothing there. That's bad. Yeah, I don't. Let me look. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the files now. I don't know if I have it.
Okay, so I think I remember what it is. So I believe the first phrase, and you guys know this as much as I do, 3 tortured souls, obviously. No butt hurt zone. No comments deleted. And then I believe the last one is you've been Tim Vickard.
Yes. There you go.
I am a verb.
Tim Vickard. And we gave out hints. We gave out a couple hints. I think we actually went through the stages of of Tim Vickard and getting Schumachered and then Biddled.
Yeah, the no butt hurt zone. I don't think we ever talked about that.
Should we? I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, we've talked about this before. Let me get the question out of the way here.
Video or audio on my computer here. I might have.
So we pretty much. I mean, our tagline and how we explain ourselves in our advertisements is that we all came together because we all knew one person We've all had interactions with one person, and we've all been deleted and banned and unfriended and stuff by the same person. Because we voiced our opinions, because we asked questions, and nothing really bad. I mean, I was
going to say nothing ever disrespectful, mean, bad. Yeah,
it was just basic questions or basic like, we're hanging out, we're talking, and this particular person did not like it or approve of it, and I think at one point somebody said, you don't need. I think it was Melanie. I'm totally going to blame Melanie. Our friend Melanie just said, you don't have to be butthurt about this, and this particular person got really pissed off about being called butthurt.
Yes.
And unfortunately, you know how it goes among friends. Like that became a joke. Like, oh, now we're butthurt.
Let me see if I can play it. You might not hear this, but let me see if I can play it.
Can you send it to me over Messenger?
Yeah, maybe.
And I'll play it. And that way, because I'll just upload it real quick. It doesn't take that long to upload.
Okay, let me see if I can actually find it and send it to you.
Okay. And then,
all right. Anyway, but I'm pretty sure those were the three in that order: 3 tortured souls, no butthurt zone, no comments deleted. You've been Tim Vickard.
Yeah. And then
Cat Ward got it.
Yes. Cat Ward got it, so she wins. And Cat Ward has not been around lately, but she got a new job where her hours take her away. She's actually working during our show now. So like I've talked to her since, and she's very upset because she misses us.
That's nice.
Yeah. So
at
least
I can send it to you on Messenger.
She'll get a shirt. She'll get a shirt, and maybe she can watch. I know she does watch us on the when she gets on. She watches the replay and then comments because I get messages from her still, which is awesome.
All right, see if nope.
Got it. Wait,
is that it?
Let's see.
There it is.
Oh, wait, that's an MP. Wait, it didn't come through. It just says 3 tortured souls.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Well, what the hell?
Don't worry, we're not doing a live show or anything.
So stupid. Anyway,
people are still staying with us, so it's all good. They're hanging out.
We'll find it eventually. All right. Anyway.
Good. Shit.
Yeah,
okay.
Really slows down.
So I guess we can wrap up. We didn't do like our ending comment. So.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, there you go. Tim's got it.
How did you get it?
Because I was the last to get it.
Fucker.
All right.
I know, right?
All right. Play it.
Right. Well, I have to send it.
Yeah, you got to send it because it's not coming through. It's just text for me.
Here we go. Let's try.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. Now I got the new theme song stuck in my head. I'm gonna be humming Christmas songs all fucking year because.
Well, we can change it up again. That's the joy.
Oh my god!
I think I'm going to start a music production company.
Yeah. Oh, you should do that.
Oh.
And put a new logo out.
I'm going to.
You should. I encourage that behavior.
We're working on it. Yeah, Donna, we're
trying.
Your husband deleted the old one.
Let me see if I have. Wait, let me see. Do I have it on the old?
Oh, I can't. It says it's too large.
I do. No, I don't. Yeah, because I don't have.
It won't let me send it in Messenger.
Let's see.
Really?
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Intro. Wait, maybe I do have it. Hold on a second.
Do.
I just found something. I'm gonna play it as soon as it uploads. It's uploading. It's uploading. Still uploading. It's almost there. Still got a circle.
What other
I hate
questions,
dead air,
y'all?
dude. I fucking hate dead air. I cannot have it.
What other questions you all have?
Yeah. Any questions you have before we go?
Let's see.
Please, someone put a question in.
Here, we'll go back and find one.
All right, wait. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to play it. And it's going to take over, so it's going to mute everyone and all. So here we go.
All right, so that was it. So the first one, 3 tortured souls. Number 2, no butthurt zone. Number 3, no comments deleted. And number 4, you've been Tim Vickard.
Nice.
Yes, it's so obvious now, JD. It's like listening to EVPs. When you tell you what it says, you can hear it.
That's called priming. I think we talked about that on a show or two. But
anyway,
yeah.
all right, we should probably
So
wrap her up.
The comments deleting, we've experienced that. Well, I know I've experienced that
Very recently.
Yes, where we attended that particular person's live stream, and I've made comments. Nothing derogatory, nothing mean. I was actually commenting on a topic they were doing, trying to offer information, and my comments were immediately deleted. And then when the moderator was asked if comments were deleted, she specifically said no.
Which you should not do that, knowing people can take screenshots these days.
Yes.
So don't say you didn't delete them and then you delete them, and it's just bad because, I mean, we're not going to do anything with it. But I mean, gee, come on, really? We all had screenshots. Anyway, so there you go. Right. Cat Ward's the winner. So congratulations. We'll send her, I believe, one of these shirts.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yes.
And I don't know. I think the new theme is pretty obvious. You can hear them pretty well. If we come up with something else, maybe we'll do another contest. So yeah, that's it. I'm good. I think there's a lot of rubbish talked about tonight. I think there's a lot of mechanisms. I think we need to rule out all natural causes and collect data that might be indicative of a correlation between potentially something unexplainable or anomalous, paranormal. And then if you're going to put forth a mechanism, a potential mechanism, that you need to think about it and it needs to make sense. That's it.
Tim?
My final thought is I'm hosting the next show next week, and the universe's energy is sending me waves, and I'm picking up this topic of witchcraft that we should really talk about. Now, I want you to know that I have not read the comment. So,
damn it, Donna!
I have not read the comment. So it's just coming to me. You're just going to have to take my word for it. So,
hot reader, what?
All right. So I guess I'll finish up. I think if you take anything from this show, take from it that you have to question. Ask for the mechanism. We talked about it. We talked about different things like haunted dolls and gadgets, EMF meters, dolls, Kinect, what have you. And we explored the mechanisms that were promoted about them, and we really dissected the shit out of them. So think about that the next time somebody offers the next big thing, the next big gadget, or you see a television show promoting some kind of haunted object. What's the mechanism? Ask the questions that really get into the details of it. How is that working? And especially if a claim leaves you going, what? If you do that in your head, something's not right. Ask a question and just explore it some more. Try to figure it out, because most likely, and from what we've I think what we've concluded here is that there aren't mechanisms for a lot of this shit. There really isn't. It's made up bullshit to fill in the gaps because nobody knows. If you don't know something, that's cool. Keep exploring, but don't pretend that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then present yourself as some kind of expert. And then when somebody asks you a simple question, you just put your hands in your pocket, turn around, and walk away. Mm-hmm. Don't do that, because that's just you're being a dick.
I consider that a victory.
It's a win.
It is a win.
It's a total win.
I got like serious karma points. I mean,
yeah,
I got that story.
I was happy. All right. So with that said, thank you everyone for hanging out with us on a Saturday night. Appreciate it. We love having you. We love the questions. We love talking about it, even if nobody watches.
I love the
we still love doing it.
Yeah, well, this is fun.
Supposedly, Kenny and Tim could hear my heavy breathing. Sorry. Asthma issues have been horrible today. I don't know why. So sorry about that. I apologize.
No problem.
Kenny's energy is exciting you. Like, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm gonna play our intro or outro, or it's the same thing. So I'm gonna play our video and we're gonna get out of here. So good night, everyone.
Different shows, different shows, different shows. Steam in the real, don't start the day. Air in the real, big for the thrill. Don't question me, didn't miss it out. Can't need it out, Dave missed it out. Don't summer room, hiding on TV. Three different shows, different shows, different shows, different shows. Careful what you say or you'll get him bigger.